Okay, my friends, let's see what's happening here. Are we live? I think we are. Okay, my friends, thank you for tuning in. Here's truly Rockin' Dave, the real deal. North Fort Myers, Southwest Florida, and all that good stuff. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the Mr. Dave's Guitar Show. How's that? Thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate it. This video, this live stream, is going to be focusing on the ability to play when you have limited abilities. Maybe it's due from an injury you had, an illness you're recovering from. Some people recovering from a stroke, things of that nature. You got a guitar and you had it for a while, excuse me, and now you think, I might as well sell it. It's not going to happen. I just can't play anymore, this, that, and the other. You might want to reconsider. And the only reason I'm saying this is that once you sell your guitar, it might be hard to get it back, especially that particular one, and or it might be even harder to get another guitar. You could always take it to the pawn shop. You got Larry's Pawn down here, and pawn it for it a month, or if they still do that, and redeem it back for whatever it is you pawned it for, plus the interest. But at least you'll have your guitar. Some people, they're just, they're at a situation where if you really need the money, that's totally different. It's 100% totally different. And people have been down those situations too. But if you really are really on the fence with this, and you're just gonna say, man, I can't play anymore. I just don't want to look at it. I'm getting frustrated. Just keep this in mind. Once you sell it, you might have a situation where maybe a few months down the road, maybe a few weeks down the road, you start saying, you know what, I miss playing. And even though I couldn't do this, that, or the other, I could still play a little bit. I'll still have something that for an enjoyment. You don't have to be a supersonic shredder to sound good. You just need to do what you need to do to sound good, really, to you. A quick side note here. A lot of people will compare themselves to what they see on the internet. And that is okay. Not necessarily a good thing, but it's kind of okay if you're getting into competitions and you need to see where everything is at to determine where you're at and how you could exceed these different levels. And then really see where you're at. And then start to exceed at these different levels to compete. And keep in mind, everyone goes in it to win it. But also, there's a possibility you might not win. But if you give it your all, you can't say you didn't try. But see, that's a little different if you're going to deal with competitions, or you're out there playing gigs and things of that nature. If you're playing for yourself, this is really where the enjoyment is, because you're doing something you really love to do. You're soothing your soul, and you're not worrying about making a living at it or getting into competitions. And there's a lot of people that they get frustrated and they just want to quit. Okay, so let's say you only have the ability with one finger. The great gypsy jazz guitarist Django Reinhardt, he only had ability of two of his fingers because the other two got fused together during a fire. So his ability was only with his two fingers. I can't remember. I think it was his index and his pinky. I can't really remember. I don't watch enough to of his stuff to know exactly what it, but I do know it was just a little bit two fingers. And he was able to play what he wanted to play. He was able to stay in the game with his passion. Now, whatever you do, don't compare yourself to anybody out there famous, because really fame's got nothing to do with it. There's a lot of people that are incredibly great musicians. They're just as good, if not better, what's out there, and they decide, I'm going to do this for myself. I just wanted to reach these levels. And there's other people that wanted to do it just to be able to express themselves. They don't care about trying to be the next this, that, or the other. So, the most, and again, the most important thing is have fun with the instrument and make music with it. That's the most important thing. The most important thing. So, what I did there is centered around on the B string, your second string. Now, I got the classical flamenco guitar here, so there's no dot inlays. I'll tell you my fret markers, and I'm going to tell you the names of the notes. And you know what? I almost forgot to do this. Let me grab my little magnifying glass, since everything is tiny. I'm also going to plug in the electric guitar as well. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. This is crazy, right? Hey, John Dawson, thank you for tuning in. Jeff Underwood, hey, my friend, long time no see. Thank you for tuning in, guys. I really appreciate you guys. John, you're awesome, man. Jeff, you're awesome. Okay, so the notes I was playing, it's on the B string, which is your second string, this one right here. And it was 5th fret, which is your E, 6th fret, which is F, 8th fret, which is G, 10th fret, which is A, 12th fret, B, 13th fret, C. So it's basically centered around this. E, F, G, A, B, C. Now, the reason why I just took this on one string as opposed to doing E, F, G, A, B, C, I wanted you to see what it's like when you slide up and down the string. Okay? So, let me try this again. I am going to play my F to E, back to F, G, F, G, and slide up to B. Down to A, C, B, A, B and A, and back to B. So I know it's maybe a little bit kind of quick, but it's just to give you an idea. Now, if you see my hand shaking there, no, I'm not nervous. It's called vibrato. It could be a little bit challenging on an nylon string, and with this one I use heart tension, Diodario heart tension strings. So here in this situation, I am playing B, A, B, C, B, and notice how I'm doing it. They call this phrasing, and what it is playing expressively with notes, and the terminology is called phrasing. So we have 12th fret, 10th fret, 12th fret, 13th fret, 12th fret B, 10th fret A, 12th fret B, and then 13th fret C. Now if you do all of it with sliding, you'll get this. The slides, with adding a little bit of vibrato, help to make it sound musical. It's like you're talking with notes. And then if I'm for this situation, I'm only playing with my fingers, and I'm playing mostly with the flesh of my finger. And right now I'm only using my index finger, because let's say these are the only ability I have. My index finger on my left hand, fretted hand, and my index finger on my right hand, picking hand. Now I'm going to take this note and slide it down to the 5th fret, which will be B sliding down to E. And if you need to do that slow, and then strike the note. It's one way of doing it. Okay, let's try that again. Now I'm going to take it from E, G, F, E. And I'm going to leave this live stream up so you could just rewind and look at it as many times as you want. Now, you don't necessarily have to play exactly what I'm playing. You can play something similar to it. The whole point of this is how to sound musical even when you have limited abilities. The most important thing is to sound musical. Have fun and sounding as musical as possible. Now, you might say, okay, that's cool, Dave, but you're only playing single notes. I want to play some chords. Okay, it could be a little bit of a challenging. But let's say you're going to play an A minor, and you only have one finger to play A minor. One of the spots you could do is on the 5th fret, so you can see this, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's your 5th fret. You take your index finger, and don't worry if you cannot get the strength to do this right away. It'll build over time. And you lay it flat. You can use the pad of your finger. You see where your knuckle joint is right there? You try to use this up to that. And just flat across the bottom 3 strings, which is your treble strings, on the 5th fret. And let's say if you have a little bit of ability with your thumb. The notes of this chord is going to be C, excuse me, E, and A. That's one way of doing that. But let's say you hear somebody doing something like this. Now see, I added my thumb on my right hand, my middle finger and index finger, and you probably say, "Oh, well, yeah, but Dave, I can only do something like this with only one finger." Okay, this is where you might have to alter a little bit, because you see what I'm doing here is I'm plucking 2 strings at the same time, and then coming with that. So let's say I want to get a similar effect. It won't be the exact same, but I want to get the similar effect. Well, I could do. It is alternating a little bit here. So let me show you if I do this in order from my 3rd string down to my high E string. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play my 3rd string, skip, go down to the high E, and then play the 2nd string. Now I'm not going to play too fast because that's not fair, because I don't want anyone getting frustrated. So I'm going to play a little bit slower, and I'm going to add, I don't know how else I could say this, expression to make it sound musical. And sometimes slower is best because it comes across much more effective. feel free to experiment plucking the strings between over the sound hole and back a little bit, because it's going to help you start to hear the difference in tone. This is more sharper. This is more rounded off, more bassier. Feel free to experiment. And then try to create something like you're trying to tell a story with the notes. It's going to help to make things sound musical. It really will. And what's really cool with this is that it will fit within the melody that I just played. I hope you guys could see that. Okay, so now if I wanted to, because I have the ability to do this, but now let's say you don't have the ability to do that. Again, it's another alteration, but this is what you could do. You go down to the 7th fret, back up to the 5th fret on the B string, the 2nd string, and back on the 5th fret with the 3rd string. So here, if no one understands this, your strings are counted from the bottom up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Played the 3rd string, 2nd string, both on the 5th fret, go down to your 1st string on the 7th fret. Now here's something you could do. See what I mean? When you do slides, it's a way of expressing. And again, one finger. And, you know, when you're coming back to this, and I'm gonna really address this especially after injuries. I have a good friend of mine, Hal, who has a hard time with his injuries and that. And you know, he was all, I was helping him, you know, teaching him classical guitar. And there's a lot that's going on there. Well, when you start to have injuries due to age or anything else, AFib, or recovering from all that, sometimes, and then carpal tunnel syndrome that's a big one. You know, it could get very frustrating when you remember what you were able to do, and now you could no longer do this. You're having a hard time doing this. It's like taking a totally different approach, and not. Excuse me. This chair is very squeaky. It's not necessarily looking at it like, oh, I can't do what I used to be able to do anymore, and it's a bad thing, it's a negative. Yeah, we all feel that. You know, there's a lot of things I can't do like I used to. But instead of looking at what you can't do, look at what you can do so you could still stay in the game and actually enjoy it. And then you might start to reconsider and say, you know what? Really, what does it matter as long as I'm moving? I'm being moved by what I'm doing, no matter what technically challenging it is. Because here's the reality, guys. when you're recovering from any type of an injury, everything becomes a technical challenge. And that's the reality of it. And I'm sorry, I think I'm missing some of the chats. I really appreciate that. Let's go real quick. So look at this guy. I got to do this, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys. So here's the deal. You could do this literally on any string, but pick the one that's easiest for you. Pick something that appeals to you. I just did this randomly, just to give you this example. If I were to take this, let's say on my low strings, my 4th, 5th, and 6th strings, let's see. I usually don't do melodies on it, but I guess I could, you know. Let's take this. 8th fret on the 5th string, which that's F. Half step down to 7th fret, that's E. Down to 5th fret, D. And back to the 7th fret. So just that region. Now we go to play the same frets but on the 4th string. Now I hope it's not going too fast. I just wanted to show you by speeding things up, slowing things down, now you're changing its time a little bit, but it's starting to take shape of sounding musical. And excuse me, when we think about the pieces of music that we play, it's going to always have a combination of different speed tempos, slow, fast, in between. It's not just going to be, you know, one line rigid. Okay, now let me take on the low E string. This is harmonics over there on the 12th fret. Make sure this might be off a little bit. When you do harmonics, you're actually playing over the fret wire. So I'm on the actual 12th fret wire. And on this guitar, if you have a nylon string guitar, usually your 12th fret wire lines up right as the top part of the guitar body joins the neck. But if you're confused, you're going to count the actual wires, not in between here, but the actual wire. So I know this might be boring, but this is going to help. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. If you have dot marks on the side side of the neck, there'll be two marks, 2 dots right there. So it'll be the fret wire that's closest to the body after right where the 2 dots are. And you lightly put your finger over that string and just pluck it. And it gives this bell tone. It takes a little while to get used to that, but you'll start to hear it, and you'll start to feel a pressure point. If you're putting too much, it's going to detonate. If you don't put enough tension, it'll do that. If you put too much, it'll like that. It'll sound like that. Just enough to make those bell tones. Okay, so now I hope I'm not going too fast for anybody out there. I really want people to really understand this and really feel like you're getting inspired. The desire to inspire is much more greater than look at me, what I could do. I remember when I was learning how to do all the stuff that I do, and yeah, it would be sometimes some of it would be fairly simple. You know, I'd done so much repetitive practice. And then some of it would be challenging, but I would do, again, repetitive practice. So it's just like anything else. If you do it enough times, you're going to get good at it. Trust me. But then now what happens as we get older, if you overwork your hands, let's say you get carpal tunnel syndrome, and you can only play for a little bit, then you need to take a little bit of a rest, and then come back to it a little later and just try to play, what you can play. But try to make it sound musical. That right there is gonna, I think, is gonna give you a lot of gratitude, because you're actually making things sound musical. You're not gonna feel frustrated. As soon as you try to look at what someone else is doing, and I want to try to keep up with that person, you'll get close to that person. You might even exceed as far as speed, but you're not gonna always sound exactly like those people. You're gonna sound like you. That right there. No matter how hard you try, you'll get close, but you will always sound like you, because that's who you are. So, let's get back to playing chords here, because this is a challenge. This is a challenge. So, I'm going to take the D minor chord in the first position. Okay, so second finger, second fret, third string, third finger, third fret, second string, first finger, first fret, first string, okay? And I'm going to also pluck my open fourth string, because that's your root note, D. And I'm going to actually do it the way I would do it with my fingers. Slow it down now. Very challenging. One finger. Now I want to show you an alternative to playing the F here and coming down and playing F on the 6th fret on the 2nd string. We're going to have, and I'm going to only use this index finger to pluck the strings. This finger to fret, this finger to pluck. Open D, open 4th string. First finger goes on the 2nd fret, 3rd string. Slide down to the 3rd fret on the 2nd string. And I'm going to slide to the 6th fret. Back down to the 3rd fret, 2nd string. Come up, 2nd fret, 3rd string. So it could be confusing. And then open. Open. So you see that string move? See, I'm not fretting it, but I'm keeping my 1st string on the 2nd fret here, on the string underneath that. You just come down. Here's something you could do. It does sound different than this. I'm going to play this slow, because in order for me to play it at this speed here, you have to be pretty quick with it. That's if you do this up here. Okay? And I'm going to tell you the notes that I'm playing here. Open D is your 4th string. Open, not fretted. 2nd fret on the 3rd string, you're playing A. 3rd fret on the 2nd string, you're playing D. 6th fret on the 2nd string, you're playing F. You're mimicking the 1st fret on the 1st string, that's F. But if you come down to the string above that, on the 6th fret, on the 6th fret, that's also F. So those are our notes within this D minor. Open D, A, D, and F. Now, where else could that be located to make this a little bit easier? Well, you got D right there. But where's the A going to come from? Well, you could do an open A on the 5th string. And it might sound a little bit off. You see, what happens is the order of those notes get a little bit manipulated as we shift down the fretboard. Here's another way of doing it. Is now you play more on the bass side. So instead of you're just shifting things up. So on the 5th fret on your 5th string, that is D. You see, I hope this is not confusing people, because there's only 7 notes and 5 variations of those 7 notes, and they're all over the fretboard. So, again, we're going to play a D minor. We're going to play on the 5th fret position with one finger. 5th fret, 7th fret, 7th fret, 6th fret, back to 7th fret, up a string back to 7th fret, and then up one string to the 5th fret. Now, you probably won't be able to do this like this. I won't get that sound. It sounds so pretty. How can I make something sound like that? I only got one finger. You see, this is what I mean. We got to sometimes think about all this. A little bit challenging, right? Or you could have a higher pitch, but your notes that you're playing is open D, F, let's see, open D, F on the 10th fret, on the 3rd string, A on the 10th fret, 2nd string, and D on the 10th fret, 1st string. It might not be this. It might not be this. But it's something that is close. It still sounds musical. And this is what the challenge will be when you're in these situations. But yet you're still making music. So you don't get so frustrated and say, I can't play, and it's you know, I just can't do it anymore. Unless it's something that you really want to do. Maybe you need to just take a little bit of a break from it. But I've seen it happen where people want to come back to playing, and guess what? They got rid of the guitar, now they go out and gotta buy a new one. And maybe the funds this time are not there like they were when you were younger. So before you get rid of anything, reconsider. Really reconsider. I'm going to be doing more of these videos, and I might just do them kind of randomly. Try to do it nice and slow and very in a comfortable pace so no one gets frustrated. And I know it's not going to be for everybody, but it's going to be for those people that they think if they want to just walk away from it and just start selling, they get frustrated. There is another option. You could still make music. It just could be slightly different, but you could still make music, and you could still start to, satisfy yourself and feel like, okay, maybe I can still be in the game. And who knows, you might inspire other people as well. And then who knows, after that, the guitar market starts going back up because people start realizing, wait a minute, it's not just somebody that's older with these situations with maybe carpal tunnel syndrome, or recovering from a heart attack or a stroke. And I'm not trying to be morbid here, but I'm just looking at things as they really are, because this is all part of life. At the same time, you got younger kids, and even younger adults, and even older adults, who just for the very first time grabbing a guitar, and right away they get so overwhelmed by what they see on social media platforms like YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, and whatever, that they're like, I'll never be able to do this. I'll never, never. And it becomes more of a negative than a positive, as opposed to, I mean by that, as opposed to seeing somebody saying, well, wait a minute, why don't you just take it where you're at and make music with that? And then, if you have the ability to take it further, just understand it, you'll have to invest some time, but the time that you actually have. Don't do something that's good and neglect other important things you have to take care of in life, And therefore, you try to get as close to what you see as possible. If you don't get nowhere near close, but you got something else that is kind of just as good, well then really be satisfied with that and let that grow if you want to take it steps further. Because at least you'll get some satisfaction. There's way too much negativity on putting people down out there, and you can't this and you can't that. Again, if you're going to join competition, real, sorry with the squeaky chair, real serious competitions like your classical guitar competitions and that, they're not out there to put people down. And the reason why I say that, it takes a long time to get at certain levels, and they know what it took to get at those levels. They know the sweat and all the sacrificing. So they're not going to put you down when you get in the game and you lose to them. They're not going to laugh at you or anything like that. Usually professional people that are at a high level of mentality and a high level of skill, because they're going to understand what it took to get there. They're going to actually be proud of you by bringing yourself up and getting in the game and trying. And they're going to want to probably talk with you to encourage you. Because, I want you to think about this. For every champion out there, that same champion had to lose X amount of times before they become a champion. That is a fact. And again, I'm saying this only if you are going to put yourself in these situations for competitions and things. Competitions, that's a big one right there. Those are big right there. Because, you try so hard, and when you don't make it, it can be absolutely frustrating. It could crush your spirit because you invest so much time. It's not just the money. More so, it's going to be the time. And you start to realize you can't get that time back. And sometimes people get really frustrated and they think, wow, was it really worth it? Yeah, it was worth it because you wanted to try it. And you wanted to see what it was like. And again, the real professionals that win these competitions, I want to say 99.9% of them are going to congratulate you for trying. They're not going to laugh at you. They're not going to put you down. Because again, we all know what it takes to get to these levels. Everyone knows what it takes. It's not easy. And here's another thing. They'll have bad days too. They'll have days where, okay, they had to do something else. They weren't able to invest so much time to hone in on, let's say, a certain phrasing of a piece of music. And it might be a little bit rough around the edges on certain segments of that piece of music. So they know. They know. Again, if you're putting yourself in those positions. If you want to go out there and play, for the most part, just sound good. You know, a lot of people, I saw this video earlier about the cover bands. My decaf coffee is getting cold. And some people don't like them, some people do. Just that. The general public, you're going to have on both sides. Some like cover bands, some don't. But if you sound good, if you do your best to sound good, you got that going for you, because they can't say you're horrible. I just don't like that music, or I don't like that song. But I gotta be honest with you, you sounded good right there. And again, to sound good doesn't mean you have to play, you know, these scales at 699 beats per minute. You know, doing all 64th notes. You went from the 8th notes to the 16th notes to the 32nd notes. Now you're in the 64th notes. You know, at some point it's gonna sound like this. That's what it could sound like. The ear will not be able to, the average ear will not be able to detect what's in between. You will, other musicians might, but the other people won't. You see what I mean? So don't worry so much. Just do the best you can to sound good. And this whole point of this video is not to give a person an excuse to be lazy. Again, when you're got the ability and you want to, you know, achieve these great goals, keep in mind you got to put the time into it, and you got to let it grow at your time, not somebody else. Don't, if someone tells you, well, it took me about 4 months to be able to do that, why is it taking you 6 months? Let it be. Everybody is different. Don't get frustrated. Okay? Now, let's go ahead. I'm gonna do one more on the acoustic, and then I'm gonna show you a little bit with the electric. It's gonna be a different animal. Okay? If again we're gonna play a D minor, and I want to play it with one finger because that's all I have that's working right now. So what I could do is, and let's say I want to make a strum. I could do it with my thumb, but guess what? My thumb got smashed because I hit it with a hammer. I was doing something stupid and I hit it with a hammer, and next thing you know, ooh, it hurts, right? So I have to do things with my index finger. You could take the top part of your finger, I'm not real good at that. I could do the flamenco, but if you do it backwards, you'll be able to do it with the pad of your finger. If you want that D to ring out, you'll have to pluck it like this. So that your hand, when you play the next string, you don't accidentally do a rest stroke and rest on that D that's ringing out. I just put an extra note there. Make life easy, but make it, and at the same time make it enjoyable for you. That's the whole point. Now, before I got extra time out, I got about 15 more minutes here. I'm going to grab the electric guitar, and let's say, whoa, sorry guys. Let's say it was the same situation where again, it's just one finger, okay? Now, I normally don't do this. Uh-oh. it on front. Oh, I don't have it in all the way. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. I thought I had that cord plugged in all the way. Okay. So, let me put the pick over here. God, this chair is squeaky. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do here for melodies, when you have the overdrive or distortion on, you have the ability with sustain. I'm going to take basically the same melodies I played earlier on the B string. Here I have a much more ability to do vibrato because I have what's called 10 gauge strings on this guitar, a little bit lighter. A quick vibrato will look and sound like this. A slow vibrato. Okay, that's the thing with overdrive and distortion. So I'm going to switch to a clean sound here, meaning no distortion. And what I like to do is have the switch in the middle to get the combination of these two pickups. Or if I want even more rounder or bassier sound, I'll just use the neck pickup. It's kind of the same concept. The only thing that you have going with the electric guitar is that you have more sustain, even with a cleaner sound. Now I'm in the region of the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th fret, you know, really in this region, and just sliding back and forth. Again, a 5th fret, 6th fret, 8th fret, 10th fret, 12th fret. In that region. I might go to the 13th fret. And those notes, again, are going to be from low to high. E, F, G, A, B, and C. Just real nice, very easy to help you make it sound musical. Okay? When you add the overdrive, this is what you get. Now, do you hear the overtone with this? What you could do is take this part of your hand, if you can, and stop the other strings from ringing out. If you are trying to emphasize the notes on one string. Because if you don't, it'll sound like this. You're going to have what's called overtone, because the vibration of the string, the vibration of you hitting the strings here, eventually will cause those strings. Plus, with the overdrive, if I just do this, you see what's happening? Well, you could get a noise gate. Yeah, you could get a noise gate, but you see what I mean? It's going to feedback. That's what you're going to run into. You know, see, it's much different. If I could, you know, and I do have the ability, listen. But it's much different when you can't do all the fancy stuff. So what are you gonna do? Make it sound musical. Play where you actually are at, and work on making that sound as musical as possible. Okay. Now, in closing, well, I still got some more time. Good. I'm glad I do, because I don't want this to bore people. So people that who are like, well, I already know how to do that, so it's not for me. That's fine. The idea of this is to inspire people who are already in a situation that they're having a hard time coming back to playing due to injuries, things of that nature, or for people who are just starting and they just don't want to get frustrated. You know, they know what they got to do, and it's a very long journey to get to these different levels. But at least while you're in that journey stage, in that learning stage, you can make it sound musical. And again, just watch where I'm at and try to mimic what I'm doing. And that is going to help right there. That will definitely help. Let's get back onto the clean it down. I remember when I was younger, and there was it was a bar kind of going into a jazz club down the street from my house when I was in Chicago. It was called the Piano Man, and it was on Gray Street and Clark Street. I don't know if it's still there. It's been a long time since I've been back there. So, but I remember I must have been 18 years old, and I couldn't get in because I was underage. But they had, big, like a lot of corner storefronts have a big glass, it was a smoked glass window. And on the stage there, they had this guy named Herb Walker and Friends. That was his name, Herb Walker and Friends. Herb Ellis is another famous jazz guitarist. Anyways, I could not get in, but I liked what this guy was doing. So I literally stayed outside, and I was just watching in, and I could hear through the glass what he was doing. And I could kind of tell where he was on the fretboard. Certain melodies. I mean, I couldn't remember everything because I'm looking at the backside. I'm literally looking at the back of the neck and watching the thumb and try to see what his hands are doing. I just couldn't do it because I was outside looking in, not inside looking at the front. But I was able to determine, okay, he seems to be in this region here, and let's try to remember exactly what he's doing and try to hum whatever melodies that were appealing to me. And I just lived down the street from this place, so I didn't stay, I don't remember how long I stayed outside there watching, but it was quite some time. And I remember looking at the back of he was using a PV Triumph 60 amp, 60 watt powered, 2 powered. And I remember watching the tubes glow in the back of the amp, But mostly watching him play and hearing him play. And then I would go home, grab my guitar, and to the best of my memory, because I didn't record it or anything, everything was 100% off of memory. I was able to determine he's playing these areas, and it'd be something real similar to. I would hear the hammer-on pull-off. Hammer-on pull-off. It was something to that effect. And when I did, I made that kind of like my practice routine. And I recorded my stuff playing what I just played, similar to what I just played, and would listen to it back and over again, and try to determine what sounds musical, what doesn't sound musical, what should I delete, what should I keep. And that really helped. That helped a lot. Here's something that you could do is your journey of playing, grab your, now we have cell phones, so it's great. And just record yourself doing these melodies and playing what chords you can play. Don't disregard it as like, well, that's not exactly what this guy's doing over here. It's not gonna be. It's what you could do and what you could make sound musical. That is the whole purpose of it. And record yourself, listen to it, listen to the playback, watch what you're doing, and have the patience. When you start feeling frustrated, put it down and come back. You know, I just, you know, now that as I'm saying this, and I thought about this a while back. I'm going to continue with these type of videos because I'm going to start. I'm still doing my gigs and everything, and you know, all my other stuff. That's not going away. But I'm going to incorporate this for people, so if it could help inspire them to play with just limited abilities, okay, but make it sound musical. You know, that's the whole point. Maybe I'll noodle a little bit, you know? They call that noodling. Experiment on the neck. You find that note there. Where else could that note be? Well, maybe it's down here. There it is. D, 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 D. So let's say you can't do this. You could do this, but you can't do this. Well, you do. Just slide down to the D that's on the 3rd fret here. Find ways. You know, when I was going over let me think here. Oh yeah, Gary Moore's Still Got the Blues. I had people say, yeah, but he doesn't play it that way. Okay. Grab the nylon string guitar. It's hard to bend certain strings. So I have to reinvent. When you're bending certain strings, you're going up a pitch. Let's say I quit playing guitar and I'm playing a violin and I still want to play the notes. I want to play the song, Still Got the Blues, but on violin. I'm not going to run it through distortion. Let's say I'm not going to run it through distortion. But just as straight violin. I can't bend those strings, so what do? Slide up to the next pitch. You find ways to make that song sound as good as what the original is without trying to copy everything that person is doing. I'm not knocking copying that. Don't get me wrong. But let's say you physically cannot do that. Does that mean it's all over? Of course not. And I think this might be what's missing. This might be the missing link for people who want to stay in the game, but that they can't find anything out there that's relevant to them. Okay. I'm gonna grab the pick, and you know, I remember doing it on the line street, but let me grab the overdrive. So, when I thought I'm overshooting the band, I don't like the way it sounds, let me take time to practice, but I still want to play the song. Okay. Yeah, there's a slight difference. There is a difference here when you're bending the note and then releasing it, as opposed to this. There is a difference, but it's just as musical. That's the whole point. Can you make it sound just as musical? You know? find ways to play it at your level, at your ability, but make it sound musical. That's the whole point. That's all. That's really it in a nutshell. Matter of fact, let me grab the nylon string again and just give you the idea here. Now, if you really want to force bending the strings, you can. I personally don't like doing that. Yeah, you can bend a little bit. And that does work. So does that. And because of the way I was approaching it, I'm still able to get the gigs and still being able to go out there and play it in that way. Not everyone's going to like it, that's fine. But the people who do, they love it and they have a good time. That's the whole point. And again, my friends, don't let any of this discourage you when you start seeing people do all this fancy stuff and it's like, man, I can't do that anymore, man. It's just, it could be hurtful, I know. You know, I saw an interview with Tommy Emmanuel, and he said that he was asked about, okay, you're going out there, you're still playing out there after all these years. So what happens when you're going to attempt to play something that you recorded 20 or 30 years ago? He said, well, you know, that was 20 or 30 years ago. I'm 20, and if it's 20 years ago, I'm 20 years older. If it's 30 years ago, I'm 30 years older. So the body does not function like it did back then. So I have to make adjustments. That's all. A lot of us have to, as we age. Again, I know I'm repeating myself a lot, make it sound musical, and don't get discouraged, and have fun with it, because that's the whole point. That is the whole point. So guys, I hope this is helpful, and I hope this is not boring people, but the whole purpose of this is to get people to say, you know what, maybe I should reconsider before getting rid of something, and you know, you don't have the funds to go out and buy another guitar, and then you start really regretting it. You know, it is a way of saving, helping you save money by keeping what you got, and that's, you know, if you have to sell something for a serious matter, by all means, that's totally different. Totally different. But otherwise, just don't get rid of your passion yet. There's an old saying, as long as you are breathing, you'll be able to do something, right? Even if it's just with one finger, you know, you can still make music. Okay, my friends, I really appreciate you watching, guys. I'm gonna bring out the cheater right here, you know. Yeah, I know this is crazy, right? Randy Tripp, what's happening, brother? Really appreciate that, man. Yeah, that sounds like a great plan for the live stream. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Yeah, going back home in May. Ah. Yeah, I'm gonna continue to do that, John, because you know there's so many people out there that, you know, as you get older, things happen, and then how is it fair for them? Any of you guys out there, you know? And then it gets very frustrating when you see people doing all this crazy stuff, and you know, I thank God I'm able to do what I'm able to do for as long as I'm able to do it, right? But that really doesn't give me a license to use the talent that God's given me to put other people down, you know? And that doesn't give me the license. I'm not better than anybody else. And if anything, it gives me an opportunity to view everything I could do, view everything I've gone through, and say, you know what, I'm still healthy, I'm still in the game. Let's do something to inspire people so they can feel just as important, because you guys are, you know? I hope that makes sense out there, because it's not just words to make you feel good. It's actually the truth. Okay, my friends. Well, I'll try to keep this on Wednesdays. If something happens, I'll let you know. I'll put it in the post, and just make sure that it helps inspire people. In closing, I wanna take this opportunity to make mention here. You have people out there that are professional musicians, and then you have people that are hobbyists. And there's nothing wrong with being a hobbyist. One of the advantages is you could do what you want when you want. You're not pressurized. Don't let the term "I'm a professional gigging working musician" make you feel I'm a great musician. And what I mean by that is, I remember when we were still doing construction, we were doing heating and air conditioning. I was at this guy's house helping him change the filter in his furnace, and he had this beautiful baby grand piano. And I said, "Oh, you play?" Oh, yeah, a little bit. I think the guy was a dentist or something like that. He was in the medical field. And yeah, he flipped up the cover, and he started playing a little bit. What he played sound musical, man, and like I said, "Man, you sound professional, man. You ever think about playing pro?" He said to me, "Yeah." He said, "But I didn't want to be poor." And was that right there was an interesting statement. I don't want to be poor. He said, "I know I could play." He said, and he didn't mean it as an insult. He just meant it as factual. He says, "I like what I do. I like my profession. I like helping people. There's nothing wrong with, doing what you like to do, and you'll never work a day of your life." He said, "But the difference, because I guess, people have asked him that before. So when you ask the same question all the time, you get tired of hearing the same question all the time. You really do." But basically, he said, "The difference between the professional musician and me, I don't need what the musician's selling me. But eventually, he might need my services because he's a dentist, right?" He said, "So point is, basically, I could play just like them, but I have money. You might get lucky, you might not get lucky. See? But with the profession he has, there's no luck involved. It's, you do what you do. If you work hard enough, you do things strategically, you got a good reputation, people are going to need your service." Kind of something to think about. So don't get frustrated and discouraged out there if you're not doing what other people are doing. As long as you're having fun and you're able to make things sound as musical as you can, boom, that's the whole purpose of it, right there in that nutshell. Okay, my friends, thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, John. I appreciate it. And hopefully we will be going live on Monday. We're checking the weather because our gigs are outside. We don't want bad weather, but we'll let you know. If we don't, maybe we'll do something here in the studio. Dale Palmer, I really thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I really appreciate you guys. Dale, thank you. Thanks so much, buddy. Okay, my friends, until next time, don't get discouraged. Have fun playing music, okay? Until next time, you stay strong, safe, and true. Rock on, and God bless. We'll see you soon. Take care. Thank you for watching.